Hello everyone, the Silver Speedster here, the Metal Silver Speedster here. Heyo, what is this? An Iceberg video in 2023? Yeah. Welcome to my channel. Buckle up, cause I'm just padding at this point. Today in this video, I will be doing an iceberg. If any of you don't know what that is, an iceberg is about cataloging and informing my audience, my lovely audience, the most interesting and somewhat dark parts of a particular piece of media in our huge world. Crazy, huh? Type down in the comments on what icebergs you checked out, and as for me, let's take a look at The Flash. The Flash is probably my favorite DC superhero of all time. Barry Allen is just a dude, bam, that got struck by lightning, and then he got doused in chemicals by flailing his arms, and then he lands on them, and then bam, the speed force connected to him via that lightning bolt, and then it just splashed into his brain, and bada bing, bada boom, he took the inspiration from his favorite hero, also known as Flash, and then he became a true hero, becoming the Flash in his own Earth. And also, he is a forensic scientist in his downtime, and a really good one at that. He likes Iris West, and he likes his job, being a superhero and fighting off his rogues gallery, which is super underrated. I really think that his rogues gallery is super underrated for me. Anyways, the same thing happened with his cousin, Wally West. He was also struck by lightning, as well as Barry, and basically he copied the same backstory over and over again, except for the Flash being his hero, since Barry was Wally's hero. Unless that is kind of the same thing as like Jay Garrick. Idols be idols. In all honesty, he had a crazy life ahead of him. And what a way to find out about his life than, well, this iceberg. I personally made this iceberg, along with taking a few categories from a user on Reddit called I personally made this iceberg, along with taking a few categories from Raish Al Ghul's Bath Salts OP from Reddit. He made a phenomenal iceberg on the DC universe, and I highly recommend it. Check him out. All credits of every article that I have gathered and paraphrased will also be credited in the description of my video as well. Well, let's get started. On to the first layer. Can't wait. First layer. Barry is struck by lightning. Pretty much everybody knows that Barry and coincidentally Wally later on were struck by lightning. In all honesty, they should have not stood there, and they should have taken cover, but hey, they didn't see it coming. This backstory changes a bit within different continuities within most of the Flash stories, but it's essentially the same thing, barring the New 52, in which Barry technically created that, and his own backstory himself was already prescribed there, but we will get to that soon. It's gonna get confusing. The Speed Force. Ah, yes. Speed Force. This is essentially a force that allows a person to become a speedster within the DC universe. And also, to quote the always right DC Wikipedia states that the Speed Force is a cosmic force based around velocity and movement, and one of the 7 forces of the universe. It is the representation of reality in motion. Being the very cosmic force that pushes space and time forward. The others being the seven forces of the universe, is great energy creation that lies beyond the source wall, that lives in all things. The power of Beyond, whose unseen hands used to create the multiverse within greater omniverse. They were the ones who basically assembled it, in which it's a whole other can of worms, but just to shorten this, the Still Force and the Speed Force are the forces of motion within the DC universe. Essentially, the Speed Force is like a conduit of speed and how it gives it their powers and whatnot. Yeah, it can get really confusing, but I like the Speed Force. It's really cool nonetheless. Especially since every speedster gets their own like color palettes and stuff. It's real colorful. Star Labs, or in this case, the Science and Technology Advanced Research Laboratories, is the main laboratory that lives within Central City. That's where Barry lives too. Basically, this whole laboratory was founded by a scientist named Garrison Slate, who wanted a nationwide chain of research laboratories and unconnected to the government or any business interests. Garrison is a whole other can of worms. Not as complicated as the founder of Arkham, but yeah. The labs have maintained facilities within Canada, Europe, Australia, and Japan, as well as the United States, with a total number of facilities numbering between 20 and 30 at the last recorded count, which is oddly sparse considering the DC universe, but I have to bet that it's probably over 30, but we roughly see about like a sparse amount in the comics anyway, so Also, for some odd reason, Lex Luthor of all people wanted to buy the building, the whole laboratory, for himself when it moved to Metropolis. I don't know why an arch nemesis wants to buy out of the Star Lab, but it's a Lex Luthor thing. He likes to buy a lot of stuff. The CW show. We have The Flash. It's a television series developed by sorry if I butcher these names. It was developed by Greg Berlanti, Andrew Kreisenberg, and Geoff Johns, airing on the titular CW channel. It's based on Barry's story and his old incarnation of the DC comics. It's kind of like a mix between the New 52 and the old Flash run. Essentially, the Arrowverse is an interconnected CW universe that has a lot of moving parts to it, oddly enough, but we'll get to the more interesting stuff later down this iceberg soon. Basically, The Flash show is a spin-off of the Arrow show existing in the same universe, and this show is basically one of the most popular CW shows since 2014 and has a pretty decent following. That's pretty decent. I mean, the whole entirety of the Arrowverse has a pretty decent following up until recently, but it just went all downhill from there. I will say the overall production and stories within the first season is pretty okay. I personally thought that the character building, except the sibling relationship plot between Iris and Barry, I don't know why they did that. But other than that, it was pretty well done, character building wise, and I believe that these characters were definitely best friends with each other. And I almost related to Barry's struggles too at the end. But here's the thing. You can have your opinion on the CW. If you like the show, that's great. I respect that a heck of a lot. But for me, I don't hate any of the CW shows, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like the CW. And the Flash show, in and of itself, has its own moments, especially in the first season, but overall, it's not that great, in my opinion. I will admit, it has a lot of cool references and storylines, but overall, its reputation is just held back by, well, the CW. It gave a chance. Well, here's the thing, right? To be honest, I couldn't really stomach the second season. I didn't even finish the second season, sadly. It was just the first season again, but with a darker, similar speedster, not as interesting as the Reverse Flash, in which they repeated this element over and over for the next 9 seasons. Oh dear God. Even some of the villains that weren't speedsters or just CGI so bad that only a mother could love, it's just, they tried changing it up in some parts, but it didn't really execute it well because the CW has a knack of just going on their old 2000s values, and they've always been just stuck in the past. And it especially shows within the final season. But overall, I still enjoyed my time with the show, and I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, really. It's just, The final season just ended this year, by the way, and I hope that the actors and the crew had fun, and I hope to see more of Grant Gustin, too, the main lead for The Flash. Let's be honest, he's much more better as The Flash than, well, that other guy. Barry needs to stop talking in the show and just utilize his speed more. Like, god dang, I'm going in a tangent, sorry, but why is he stopping to talk in every single episode? He always stops to talk. He doesn't put him in the he doesn't go get the bad guy and slap him into the prison. He just stops to talk, gets his butt handed to him, even though he's a speedster. And moving on. Sorry. At least they did Reverse Flash really well. He was by far the best part. Ah, yes. DC Super Pets. Animal heroes for life. Within another Earth, Earth-C more specifically, the Zoo Crew was formed. Merton was originally an ordinary turtle. They were created by Martin Nadell and Tasha Lyon, who voices the character in the animated film as well. From Earth-C, who became subject of a bet between Prince Highness and the governor of all things good and Prince Lowness. They decided to argue about human corruptibility, and afterwards, the prince bestowed superpowers upon McSnurtle. First appearing in Funny Stuff #1, and they were featured in Super Pets, the movie. Look at him. He's wearing goggles. He's so cute. Also, the idea of a turtle getting super speed is funny to me. And now to show off my pretentious knowledge by downplaying the film's story by not adapting the whole comic funny stuff #1 story in its entirety. But no, seriously, I haven't watched the film, but from what I've heard, it was pretty decent, I think. So anyways, back to the comics. His uncle was also a speedster, and they help out Flash from time to time. Since then, Merton is considered to be the first talking animal superhero of DC. Dang. I don't know if that's true or not, because there are other talking animals beforehand, but who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen in DC Comics. Also, check out his Wikipedia page. It's just really short for how obscure it is, but at least it's not like one sentence short like some other Wikipedia page. Friends with Green Lantern. Okay, so Flash has been friends with multiple Green Lanterns, not just Hal Jordan or John Stewart, but it's mainly Wally that has like multiple Green Lantern friends. Like, you know, to bring up some interesting examples that I've personally found, it was like Barry and Hal Jordan in the DCAU movies, Jon Stewart and Wally and the Justice League show with the little screen time that they have. And then there's Alan and Jay, and even most other characters that just really like Green Lantern in general. Like, when I read some of the old Golden Age comics, between, like the dichotomy between Alan and Jay is kinda wholesome. Like, god dang. I could put most of their moments in freaking r/wholesome. Like, wow. That was a terrible joke. But regardless, I wonder who will befriend each other next. The Flash's nicknames. Oh man, this is gonna be a long one. Lightning round. The fastest man alive. The Scarlet Speedster. The Crimson Comet. The Human Whirlwind. The Sultan of Speed. The Monarch of Motion. The Grand Vizier of Velocity. The Human Hurricane. The Whiz Kid. The Streak. Transvisible Man. And finally, Flush Man. I bet that there's more nicknames for him, but these are the more common nicknames of the Flash. I bet that every other hero has these types of names, as well as like Man of Steel, Cape Crusader. But the Flash has the most funniest and coolest ones that I could find. Which one is your favorite? Mine is definitely Flush Man. Oh, and also, Scarlet Speedster. Layer 2. Justice for Wally. I really tried to research this one, but I don't entirely know what this is about. If you have any ideas on what it's about, let me know in the comments, because I've been really trying to look for it online, and I don't know. There's a lot of different like Wally storylines out there, and well, this one, from what I have gathered, seems to be referencing the sacrifice that he made at the end of Young Justice? Was it? Maybe. Or something that happens in the comics? I guess people just don't want to see him sad. They just want to see Wally happy. Yeah, me too. Justice for Wally. He will not die in the DCU. If he does show up, that is. One of my favorite villains in all of comics. Good old It Was Me, Barry. Wait. We're not talking about Reverse Flash? Oh. We're talking about his ancestor. Alright. So, Malcolm Thawne is the ancestor to Reverse Flash. And he has a lot of issues. In the CW, he's kind of a completely different character. He's just a foil to Barry in order for him to feel jealous that Iris is with someone better than him. And then he shows up in the season finale as the main villain, and it's one of the most disappointing things that I've ever seen. That's just my opinion. So, Malcolm Thawne in the comics was a twin brother of Barry Allen. It's confirmed that he is in fact Cobalt Blue, and he's one of a plethora of evil counterparts of the Flash. He basically wields the blue flame, and it went to his adoptive grandmother. In the New Earth backstory, however, Malcolm Thawne in the comics was a twin chosen randomly and stolen by birth by Dr. Gilmore, remember him? Who reported him as a stillborn to Dr. Henry Nora Allen. The reason Dr. Gilmore gave Malcolm away to the Thawnes was because he accidentally strangled their child while drinking heavily. Dear God. And Malcolm Thon is the biological brother of Barry Allen, which confirms it, so he's otherwise known as the second Flash, technically? Huh. Man, this whole storyline is just really sad. Like, his whole family just abused him, all because they hated Barry and wanted him to be better. A better fighter for him. Man. Honestly, Malcolm, I wish I can give you a hug right now. Cobalt Blue deserves a spot in this Iceberg because it's basically one of the most prepped up and rumored fan theories out there before the final season ever came out in the CW show. A lot of people were speculating that Eddie / Malcolm? Is it Eddie and Malcolm? I honestly can't remember this guy's name. But apparently a lot of people were speculating that he was supposed to be Cobalt Blue sometime in the show, and then the final season soon confirmed that, yes, the descendant of Eobard, instead of shooting himself, he came back to life and became Cobalt Blue. You could see why that this is kind of disappointing to so many theorists. They seriously brought him back and made him into a worst version of the character. That's moving on. Just a Woman's Touch / Eobard Thawne suit.
It was me, Barry. I made them draw Lola Bunny with fewer sexual features so that you wouldn't be horny, and reduce your blood flow to make you a millisecond slower. Slow enough for me to kill Iris. Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend, and you came right as she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, I love this meme. I love it so much. It's funny. It also fully represents him as a character, and who he is as a person, and how petty and evil Thawne can be in the comics. And if he becomes a paradox sometimes too. As for his suit, yeah, get this. That suit that he's wearing is Kid Flash's suit. Or in this case, Wally's suit, or the recent Kid Flash character in the future. He is wearing Kid Flash's suit because he wanted to be like the Flash, but Barry basically forgot about him and had a life. Messed up, am I right? Well, in all honesty, it would probably drive me nuts if someone were to forget about me. Unlike getting therapy and improving upon yourself, he instead becomes insane and repurposes the suit to terrorize Barry and his life, along with other Flashes. Again, I love Eobard Thawne. He's so awesome. Loved him in the Flashpoint movie. It's great. Layer 3. How fast is the Flash? How fast is this guy? Well, before Wally, Jay was mainly as fast as a train and a plane. Barry, on the other hand, was faster than a bullet. But other than those terms, we really do not know how fast he truly is, since it's never been that much comparable other than the teeniest of a second. But that's mainly just his reaction time, though. As of now, it's been confirmed that Wally is now the current fastest, but even that's a bit of a speculative claim, because multiple videos alone are calculating his speed along with the other Flash's speed. But here's the thing. They're also calculating Barry's speed with the other media that he's in, and sadly, a little bit of a side tangent, sorry, but I really hate how they mixed both the show and the comic Barry without any repercussions, and they just stick to the comics iteration but then they also show the show's iteration in some parts, and it gets confusing, and then there's, typing and researching different types of Flash's continuity, which is either the show and the comics, and it... Can people just start sticking to the comic iteration for Google? That we don't have to specifically type it out? Please? Internet? Sorry. So far, Wally is confirmed to be the fastest, as well as Barry's speed being as powerful. His top speed generates a multiversal constant power, existing in every time and dimension. In practical terms, even in the comics, Alan is restricted by the speed of light, only achieving, 186,000 miles per second as his top speed. But even this is kind of unconfirmed until the Crisis event, or sometimes even the show? God, I still really hate how Google isn't specific about which version of the Flash that it's talking about. But so far, this is what is confirmed to be in the comics, and I really tried researching it specifically for it. If I'm wrong, let me know. Research it on your own, because I can't seem to pinpoint where the accurate sources are since there's a lot. But overall, the screenshots that I took on screen are hopefully the most accurate that I found. And of course, make sure to take them with a grain of salt. Flash Facts. Flash Facts is a graphic novel by Mayim Bialik.
Mayim Bialik.
It's a graphic novel about facts. It seems like the author is more or less a player within the kids' book genre, within many DC universes and stories. It's just a novel about random facts that Barry tells the reader and a few of the side characters within the book, like the main children and whatnot. And it's mainly about his job and other random facts about DC characters and everyday life. It's mainly in the end part, however. I think that it's really funny, and my personal favorite fact out of all of them is how you could see the fiber within a magnifying glass. Yeah, I'm basic, so what? I always get a kick out of, patterns within cloth material. I don't know why that's extremely specific, but just to me, the concept of a forensic scientist just telling a group of children about their day job is funny to me. Check it out for yourself. I think it's really funny. Here are some panels that I found that were really interesting. Yeah. The Flash created Gideon. In the Arrowverse, Gideon is the name used by several interactive AI. The first AI that was created by Barry Allen in the future, and was used by Eobard Thawne and Team Flash in the present. Basically, it's the titular AI that we see Thawne use, and it basically confirms that he stole Gideon from Barry. The second AI is the artificial intelligence of the time ship Wave Rider and the member of the Legends, which is weird that she would end up in Legends of Tomorrow, but time travel shenanigans, am I right? Following the destruction of the ship, she was destroyed, but was later accidentally revived in a human body by Astrologue. Huh. She was later accidentally revived in a human body by Astrologue using magic. The third AI... Wait, there's 3? God dang, CW, you really like Gideon. The third AI was a evil replica of the second Gideon downloaded by a mad scientist, Bishop. Like the original, she's an interactive artificial intelligence programmed to operate the Wave Rider. When Bishop escaped from the ship, Gideon created her own team of legends, several characters that also used the name Gideon. The new Genesis Gideon was created by Jim Starlin, and Paris Collins, first appearing in New Gods, Volume 3, Number 3. The first Gideon in the CW show was created by Alison Shapker and Grain Godfrey, first appearing in the Flash episode named Power Outage in 2014. So, as you could tell, Gideon from New Genesis is not the same Gideon as in the CW show. Meanwhile, the CW show takes a more AI approach. Let's just leave it to coincidence that these two are both separate characters. DC in Scribblenauts / Scribblenauts Achievement. The Flash is a spawnable NPC in Scribblenauts Unmasked. In the game, he can run super fast and fights villains of any other type of bad guy that we personally create. I loved Scribblenauts as a kid. It's very nostalgic to me. And I really appreciate that the Flash got some great A fan service in this game. Like Jay Garrick's costume, Wally's costume, as well as some of the Rogues Gallery in this game, which there is a lot of his Rogues Galleries in here. And it's not just the Flash, it's also other DC superheroes too, along with their Rogues Gallery as well. Such as, to name a few of Flash's Rogues Gallery, Captain Cold, Black Flash, believe it or not, Reverse Flash, and yeah, it's pretty cool. The home of Flash, Central City, is also a location that you can go to in Scribblenauts Unmasked as well. Ah, there it is. Star Labs. A modified version of Flash's suit can be used by Maxwell as well. It gives him increased speed as well as his agility. Then there's other DC superhero costumes in the game that he can wear as well, like Batman, Aquaman, and yeah. Oh man, Cyborg, look at him. He's so heckin'... Wait, is that? Oh my god! It's Eel! It's Plastic Man! Yes! Also, this game's crossover had a tie-in comic that was kind of like one of the DC's Crisis stories? What? Kind of an odd start to a Scribblenauts game, but alright. The Anti-Monitor, the main villain, a guy who eats universes and it's gonna destroy multiple Earths, was going to destroy the DC universe. And then other characters in the Scribblenauts story decide to help out with their magic notebook, since their universe was crossing with theirs at this time. But they ultimately fail in the end? What? Yeah, that's right. They actually fail. And then they have to rebuild the DC universe with their magic notebook. Dang, Scribblenauts. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is very bold. Like, wow. Dang, Scribblenauts. Is Max gonna be okay? Wally and Barry's design controversy, along with their redesigns. Are the eyes and or pupils on Wally or Barry's costume? Is the lightning bolt with 3 arches or just 1? You decide! But in all seriousness, I am legit confused as to what the heck their designs are supposed to be about. Is Barry's New 52 costume, like, with or without the pupils? Well, thankfully there are definitive costumes for both Barry and Wally in the comics. Phew. Wally's recent modern silver costume and Barry's original costume. Well, let's just say that in other media it can get complicated. Okay, so buckle up, friendo, because we are going on a ride. Wally with the white pupil look was popularized by the DC AU, or in Justice League the animated series. And then there's other animated films that uses design for Wally, up until Young Justice and Teen Titans, which uses Kid Flash's suit. I think it fits personally since he's younger in those. Here's the kicker. Sometimes Barry has the white pupils instead of Wally, mainly because it's easier to animate. You could tell why that this is confusing. Don't even get me started on the DC animated movie universe and how Barry had Wally's lightning bolt in. Yeah, it's nitpicky, and sometimes it just doesn't matter, but it's just a pet peeve of mine personally, and along with other people that also are kind of peeved about it too. I don't blame them. Other than that, it doesn't affect my enjoyment on the project that they are in, but for others, it just does for some odd reason. Maybe someday DC will fix this issue? I don't know. Here's a funny panel I found where Wally's in it. I like him a lot. Also, as for the redesigns themselves, here's a personal ranking of my favorites. I think that the Flash isn't the most redesigned Flash due to how perfect his red and yellow suit already is. But hey, it's always nice to have spares, huh? Flash's hero cars. Or the weird Lego car. But, Metal, how come the Flash drives? Well, that's simple. Merchandise. And or money. And toys. Mainly toys. Why would a speedster need a car? Why would Spider-Man need a car? I mean, it looks cool. Check out this Lego car. It looks so cool. It was so cool that Wally even has one as a tool. As it turns out, in The Flash number 782, grabbing a pair of stealth suits from his workplace at Terrific Tech, Wally takes the time to show Wallace his Flashmobile, a crusty 67 red and black Camaro that Wally has been gradually getting the parts for. He tinkers with it every now and then, sometimes, and it's really pointless for him to have a car. And the new Kid Flash at the time also points out that it would take Wally only a few seconds to perfectly restore the car of his speed. And he also made fun of him for having it. Yeah, that honestly just looks so unnecessary. But Wally likes it, so I'm not going to deter him. Alright, that is the end of part 1 for this Iceberg. I did the first 3 rows if you couldn't tell, and I had a lot of fun doing so. Stay tuned for the second part, because oh boy, things are going to get dark. Oh yeah. I have been Metal Silver, and be careful when going out in the cold. Alright. Have a good day. This is Metal Silver, signing off.